No one wish how they are born, whether they're born in a family with a financial support or with a poor family. And right now, in under our motion today, this house believes that scholarships should only be granted on the basis of financial necessity. Right now, in the status quo, in Indonesia itself, there's so many students who can get into the higher educations just because they can get these scholarships, so they can join it because they have a financial necessity. And also they can join the achievement. Why? Because they have a different starting point with the student who have financial support that can do course, that can do extra practice with a lesson to get this achievement, in which we believe that it is not unfair at the very first place. And right now, the scholarships for the student who have achievement is only as an appreciation. But right now, there is more thing that urgent that we also need to seek for the perspective and also for the conditions of the student who have the lack of the financial. So that's why we believe that why we need to be making these scholarships by the way to be granted on the basis of financial necessity. Right now, our goals is we want the student with financial necessity to get the same chance of scholarship. What is mean that there's a scholarships for only for those people who have the financial necessity. By that way, they can be compete and compete with their same people, with their same student, and with the same starting point in which it's fair for them. And also, by doing this, our goal is also to make a better perspective for both the students who have the lack of necessity and also for those who have the financial necessity to be equal. And also, 2 points of the definitions. First is the scholarship. Scholarship itself can be kind of the money support in which it will be limited, and also that's why we will. And what the context is the scholarships that come from the government, in which we will be changing it for those who have the financial necessity. And also, financial necessity means that for those who have no financial necessity or have no money to enter the university in regular, and they can join it then and have lack of the money itself. And also there is no capability to afford to join the university. So 3 points of arguments. First is why it is justified to prioritize of the students with the lack of the financial necessity, and also why is it okay to give the same why is it okay to change it into the student with the lack of necessity. Secondly, why it is can beneficiary for the student with lack of necessity, and creating the idea of motivations that will and boost and also to compete in their same environments. And so thirdly, why this thing is better than the opposition proposal. Firstly, we know that can you imagine how a student with lack of necessity need to be hard work rather than for those who have more external resources, for example like doing the course because they have more financial. It is very unfair, gentlemen, and also it is morally right if we to give more attention for this financial for this student who need the necessity financial, because we also caring for both of for the perspective of the students. And also the ideal goals of the student is to take care of many kind of the students with the lack of necessity, student with have necessity, and scholarship. It should be focusing also on for those people who can get into the university or can get into the higher educations just because they don't have money, in which it's the point where it's the ideal goal for the government itself. And also by doing this, we believe that it will make the equal chance, because there is two kind of for the scholarship for those who lack of necessity and for the student who have the necessity, because they can make their starting point because they have financial. Why is it okay? Because we know even if this student who have financial can join into the scholarships, they can join into another university with their money because they have financial support, because they have ability to offer the university rather than this student who lack of the necessity. Because at last we believe that there is only chance for the student for the student who lack of financial to get higher education to join into the university by this by the government affording the chance of the scholarships. And secondly, by doing this, for example, when like student who lack of necessity getting chance to get into the scholarship, like in this context, the scholarship itself is a competition, so it's not free. By that way, it will make them get motivated. Because why? Because it is fair. They have the same starting point. They have the same conditions. By that way, it will boost the competitions environments in this context. By that way, it will make them to get motivation into the higher education, because they know they see chance in this, because because it's not because they have chance to get it. So what if now in the oppositions, for example, they are losing the motivation itself. For example, like they need to be compete with the student who have the different starting point, who already do course, who already do the private lessons. So by that way, we believe that they feel very shy. They feel very far away to get and to reach this kind of these scholarships. By that way, it will make them to be suffer, and also stop to getting into the university, or they can join into or they can only go to work because they can get into the higher educations. That's why the point where we need to making the scholarships that be granted on the basis of financial necessity. And also, in this context, we see that it affect more people. For example, like more people who have lack of necessity rather than for this who have achievement. It also affect more rather than the opposition proposal. And also, by doing this panels, it also creating a competitive education, competitive environment, which can beneficiary for the next and long-term impact. And thirdly, for example, in our best scenario, where the student have same chance and get a good perspective, in which it have more people affected and have a better impact rather than the opposition team side of the house. For example, and also even if in our worst scenario that there's still people who can go join, but it is more low rather than the proposal or the worst scenario from the opposition team side of the house. Let's see in the opposition team best scenario. For example, if there is no these scholarships that finally only granted for the achievement, it will only make the successful for this who have achievement and financial. What about the poor student who have like basic starting point, in which is not very unfair, and it is causing a more damage into the more students, because we know that majority people who are majority students who have lack of the necessity. And also that's why we believe that the point where we need to be granted on the basis of financial necessity. So that's why we proud to propose this motion, and thank you.